In 1968, Elvis was filming another forgettable musical. After a scene, the director yelled, "Cut!" Elvis walked to the bathroom and cried. Makeup artist Rosa heard him and asked, "Why do you do this work?" Elvis's answer broke her heart, "Because nobody takes me seriously." 3 months later, he proved them all wrong. This is the story of the bathroom breakdown that led to the greatest comeback in music history. It was June 1968 on the Paramount Studios lot. Elvis was filming Live a Little, Love a Little, his 27th movie in 10 years. Like most of his recent films, it was formulaic, thin plot, forgettable songs, Elvis playing a version of himself that bore no resemblance to who he actually was. They were shooting a scene where Elvis had to sing a light-hearted song to a dog. The scene required him to be charming, carefree, comedic. Everything Elvis didn't feel. "Action," the director called. Elvis hit his mark, smiled on cue, sang the silly lyrics, petted the dog at the right moment. Technically perfect, emotionally empty. "Cut, that's a print, moving on." Elvis nodded, keeping the smile frozen on his face until he was out of frame. Then, without a word to anyone, he walked off the set toward the nearest bathroom. Rosa Martinez, the head makeup artist who'd worked with Elvis on 5 films, watched him go. Something in his posture, the way his shoulders slumped the moment he thought no one was watching, worried her. She waited a moment, then followed. Elvis locked himself in the bathroom and leaned against the sink, staring at his reflection. He was 33 years old. He'd been making movies for over a decade, and every single one felt like a betrayal of everything he'd started out wanting to be. He'd wanted to be a serious actor. He'd dreamed of doing films like James Dean, of playing complex characters, of proving he was more than just a singer who could read lines. Instead, he'd become a joke, a pretty face who showed up, sang forgettable songs to pretty girls, kissed them in the final scene, and collected a paycheck. The tears came suddenly, hot and bitter. Elvis put his head in his hands and let himself cry. Silently, desperately, all the frustration and disappointment of the past 10 years pouring out. Outside the bathroom door, Rosa heard the muffled sounds. She knocked gently. "Mr. Presley? Elvis, are you okay?" Silence. Then Elvis's voice rough with tears. "I'm fine. Just need a minute." "Can I come in?" A pause. "The door's locked?" "Then unlock it, please." Elvis wiped his face, tried to compose himself, then unlocked the door. Rosa slipped inside and locked it again behind her. She took one look at his red eyes and didn't say anything. Just pulled some tissues from her kit and handed them to him. "Thank you," Elvis said quietly, wiping his face. "How long have you been doing this?" Rosa asked. "Doing what?" "Crying in bathrooms after scenes." Elvis laughed bitterly. "This movie? Every day. This career? About 5 years now." Rosa leaned against the wall, giving him space. "Why do you do this work if it makes you this unhappy?" Elvis looked at her, really looked at her, and something about her directness, her lack of judgment, made him honest. "Because nobody takes me seriously," he said, his voice breaking again. "I wanted to be an actor, a real actor, but Hollywood sees me as a singer who moves well. The Colonel sees me as a money machine. The studios see me as a reliable product that sells tickets. Nobody, not one person in this entire industry, takes me seriously as an artist. So you keep making these movies because what else am I supposed to do?" Elvis's frustration poured out. "I can't just walk away. I have contracts. I have people depending on me. I have an entire empire built on Elvis Presley, the movie star. If I admit that this is killing me, that these films are destroying whatever artistic credibility I had left, then what? It all falls apart." Rosa was quiet for a moment. Then, "You know what I see when I work with actors? I see the ones who are alive on camera and the ones who are dead inside but moving anyway. You, Elvis, you're dead inside. Every take, every scene, I watch you go through motions. And it's breaking my heart because I know you're better than this." Elvis looked at her, stunned that someone had seen it, that someone had named it. "The first movie I did with you was Viva Las Vegas," Rosa continued. "That was 1964. You were alive then. Difficult, demanding, but alive. You cared about the work. Now, you're a ghost. You show up, you hit your marks, you say your lines, and then you come to bathrooms and cry. That's not a career. That's a slow death. What am I supposed to do?" Elvis asked desperately. I'm trapped. No, you're not. You're scared. There's a difference. Elvis stared at her. What am I scared of? Failing is something other than this. Right now, you can tell yourself that you could have been a great actor if only the studios had given you better material. If only the Colonel had let you take risks. If only. But if you actually try, if you walk away from these safe, profitable movies and do something real, then you might fail. And then you'll know. You'll know if you were ever really as good as you think you could have been. Elvis felt like he'd been slapped. You think I'm a coward. I think you're human. I think you're terrified of finding out that maybe the problem isn't Hollywood or the Colonel or the scripts. Maybe the problem is that you've spent so long playing it safe that you've forgotten how to be brave. Elvis slid down to sit on the floor, his back against the wall. Rosa sat down across from him. When I was starting out, Elvis said quietly, I was fearless. I didn't care what anyone thought. I sang the way I wanted to sing. I moved the way I wanted to move. I took risks because I had nothing to lose. But now, I have everything to lose. Fame, money, respect. What little I have left. If I fail, I lose it all. You've already lost it, Rosa said gently. You're sitting on a bathroom floor crying because you hate your work. You've lost your artistic integrity. You've lost your joy. You've lost yourself. What more is there to lose? My career? My reputation? My ability to take care of the people who depend on me? Elvis, you're one of the most famous people in the world. You've sold millions of records. You've made millions of dollars. You could never work another day and be fine financially. The only thing you're protecting by continuing to make these movies is your ego's need to keep being successful, even at work you hate. Elvis was quiet for a long time. Then, there's something coming up, a TV special. NBC wants me to do a Christmas show. The Colonel wants it to be standard. Me in a tuxedo singing Christmas songs to a family audience. Safe, predictable, exactly what everyone expects. And what do you want? I want to prove I still matter. I want to remind people, remind myself that I'm not just a movie star who used to be a musician. I want to show that I can still be dangerous, still be relevant, still be real. Rosa smiled. Then do that. Make the TV special your way. Take the risk you've been afraid to take. Prove that you're not dead inside. If I fail, then you fail having tried to do something honest instead of succeeding at something hollow. That's not a worse fate. That's a better one. Elvis sat on that bathroom floor for another 10 minutes, talking with Rosa about fear and risk and the difference between being successful and being alive. When he finally stood up, washed his face, and let Rosa fix his makeup, something had shifted. He went back to the set and finished the movie. But it was the last film he made with any real commitment. After that, he was just serving time until his contracts expired. 3 months later, in November 1968, Elvis walked into NBC Studios to tape his Christmas special. The Colonel had his plans, safe, traditional, family-friendly Christmas songs. Elvis had different plans. He'd spent those 3 months thinking about what Rosa had said, about being dead inside, about the difference between being scared and being trapped, about having nothing left to lose. On the day of taping, Elvis made a decision. He told the director, I'm not doing a Christmas special. I'm doing a comeback special. I'm going to show people who I really am. And if that fails, at least I'll have tried. What followed became legendary. Elvis in black leather, sweating under the lights, singing with raw intensity he hadn't shown in years. No scripts, no safety, just honest connection with music and audience. The '68 comeback special wasn't perfect. It was rough, risky, real. And it was the most important thing Elvis had done in a decade. When it aired in December, the response was overwhelming. Critics who'd written Elvis off as a has-been were stunned. Fans who'd forgotten why they loved him remembered. The music industry took him seriously again, and Elvis felt alive for the first time in years. After the special aired, Elvis sent Rosa a note. You were right, I was dead inside. Thank you for telling me the truth. Thank you for pushing me to risk failing at something real instead of succeeding at something hollow. The bathroom conversation changed my life. Rosa Martinez worked in Hollywood for another 30 years. She died in 2015 at age 83. In her final interview, she was asked about her most memorable moment in the film industry. "Sitting on a bathroom floor with Elvis Presley while he cried about hating his work," she said without hesitation, "because that's when I saw him decide to stop dying and start living again." She continued, "People think the '68 comeback special was about Elvis proving he could still sing, but that's not what it was about. It was about Elvis proving he could still risk something, that he could still be vulnerable and honest instead of safe and fake. That conversation in the bathroom, that's when the comeback really started. Everything after was just him following through." The story of Elvis crying in the bathroom between takes became well known among people in the industry. It represented something many artists face, the choice between safe success and risky authenticity. "Every artist reaches a point where they have to decide," said musician Bruce Springsteen, who cited the story as influential in his own career decisions. "Do you keep doing what's safe and profitable but soul-killing? Or do you risk everything to do something real?" Elvis made that choice in 1968. That's why the comeback special mattered so much. It wasn't just good music. It was a brave choice. The contrast between Elvis's hollow film work and his electrifying TV special became a case study in artistic authenticity. Film schools use clips from Live a Little, Love a Little, alongside footage from the comeback special to show the difference between an artist going through motions and an artist fully alive. "You can see it in his eyes," noted film professor Dr. James Chen. In the movie, Elvis is technically perfect but emotionally absent. In the special, he's sweating, nervous, imperfect, and completely present. That's the difference between performing and connecting, between success and meaning. The bathroom conversation also became meaningful to people struggling with career dissatisfaction. "Elvis was at the top of his profession and miserable," one person wrote in a viral essay. "That taught me that success without fulfillment is just expensive unhappiness. Better to risk failing at work you love than succeed at work you hate." Rosa's question, "Why do you do this work?" became something of a mantra for people reconsidering their careers. And Elvis's answer, "Because nobody takes me seriously," resonated with anyone who'd ever felt trapped by others' low expectations. "Elvis taught me that other people's perception of you doesn't have to be your reality," said singer-songwriter Brandi Carlile. "He spent years locked into being what Hollywood wanted him to be. Then he broke free and showed everyone who he really was. That takes courage most of us never find." Today, when people watch the '68 comeback special, they're watching more than just a great performance. They're watching a man choosing authenticity over safety. They're watching courage in real time. And it all started with a breakdown in a bathroom, with tears and honesty, with Rosa Martinez asking the question Elvis needed to hear, "Why do you do this work if it makes you this unhappy?" Elvis didn't have a good answer that day, so he spent the next few months finding one. And the answer he found, "I do work that matters to me, even if it's risky," changed the trajectory of his final years. He could have kept making safe movies, could have kept collecting paychecks and hating himself, could have kept crying in bathrooms while pretending everything was fine. Instead, he took Rosa's advice. He risked failing at something real rather than succeeding at something hollow. The comeback special was risky. Elvis was nervous. It could have failed spectacularly, but it didn't fail. It succeeded precisely because it was risky, vulnerable, real. Because Elvis finally stopped performing safety and started performing truth. "Sometimes the wrong path teaches you which path is right," Rosa said in that final interview. Elvis spent 10 years making movies he hated, and that taught him how much he needed to make music that mattered. The bathroom crying wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. It was his soul telling him he'd lost his way. And thank God he listened. Elvis died 9 years after the comeback special. But those final 9 years were different from the hollow decade before. He was still struggling, with health, with medication, with the weight of fame. But he wasn't dead inside anymore. He was alive. Imperfect, troubled, but alive. And that made all the difference. The bathroom floor, Rosa's question, Elvis's tears, the decision to risk everything for something real. That's where comebacks begin. Not on stages, in moments of honest despair that force us to choose. Keep dying slowly in safety, Or risk living fully in uncertainty? Elvis chose to live, and the world remembered why they'd loved him in the first place, not because he was perfect, because he was brave enough to be real. If this story of artistic despair and the courage to change direction moved you, subscribe and share it. When did you last cry because you hated your work? Let us know in the comments. Hit that notification bell for more true stories about the moments that force us to choose between safety and truth. And